On Christmas Day, my son-in-law ordered me to serve his family of 12. He sent me to buy groceries like hired help. Then a car hit me at an intersection. I was sitting on the sidewalk, hurt and shaken, when my phone rang. It was him. "Where are you? You useless old man," he yelled. I told him I'd just been in an accident. His response: "Stop being dramatic." In that moment, the pain in my chest cut deeper than any physical wound. I realized I couldn't live like this anymore. So I left. 1 week later, on New Year's Day, I returned with 2 people behind me. When he saw them, his face turned white. Thank you for listening to my story. That moment on the sidewalk changed everything. Before I tell you what I did. Next, drop a comment. Where are you watching from, and what time is it where you are right now? Lance's voice boomed from upstairs, slicing through the quiet of Christmas morning. It was 7, and the day had already begun. I stood at the kitchen counter, hands around my mug, watching steam rise. I'd been up since 6, like I had for 40 years. Lorraine used to say my internal alarm clock was better than anything store-bought. Lorraine. I glanced at the photo on the mantel, her smile frozen at 63, 3 months before cancer took her. 2 years without her in this house we bought in 1989, raised Mallory, and celebrated every holiday in. Now it felt like I was a guest here. "Dad," Mallory asked as she came downstairs, tired hair and a messy bun. "Is the coffee ready?" "Just finished," I said, pouring her a cup. "Black 2 sugars." "Thanks," she murmured, eyes on her phone. "That was it?" I pulled eggs and bread from the fridge, starting breakfast. "This coffee's cold." Lance stormed into the kitchen, holding up his mug like evidence. "Seriously, Dexter. On Christmas morning." "I just poured it." "Well, it's cold now. Make another pot." He shoved the mug at me like a command. I dumped it out and restarted the machine. He and Mallory sat scrolling their phones. They'd moved in a year ago temporarily, until Lance found a new job. A few months, they'd said. That was 12 months ago. "My family's coming at 5, Lance said. 12 people total." "That's wonderful," I said. "I'll help." "You'll do all the cooking. Turkey, ham sides, desserts, everything." I paused mid-whisk. "Lance, that's a lot for one person. What else do you have to do?" "You're retired, and you live here rent-free, so consider it your contribution." "Rent-free, in the house, still in my name." "This is my house, Lance," I said quietly. "Our house," he corrected. "Family shares, or are you going to be difficult on Christmas?" Mallory kept scrolling, saying nothing. By 11, I was elbow-deep in turkey prep. At 9, Lance had handed me a long shopping list: turkey ham ingredients, rolls, pies, decorations, gifts for his whole family. "This will cost over $500, I said. So he replied from the couch, watching football with his feet on the antique coffee table. Lorraine and I refinished. "Use your pension, household contribution." By 3, I was exhausted. Turkey in the oven, ham ready but missing key items, wine, desserts. Lance had forgotten them earlier. "Dexter," he yelled. "My family will be here in 2 hours. Why isn't everything done?" "I'm doing my best." "Your best isn't good enough. Go to Kowalski's. 3 bottles red-white champagne and pies. Apple, pumpkin, pecan. Go." I stared at the mess in the kitchen. At 68, I was being ordered around like a teenager. "Lance, I'm tired. Maybe you could—" "Could what I assumed you had it handled. Don't embarrass me." Mallory walked through with her laptop. Our eyes met for a second. She said nothing. I took off my apron and got my coat pushed aside for Lance's growing pile of jackets and boots. My keys were buried under his mail. "And don't forget presents," he shouted. "Something nice, but not expensive." I stood in my own entryway, keys in hand, looking at Lorraine's photo, now shoved to the mantel's corner to make space for Lance's gaming equipment. "What would you tell me to do, sweetheart?" But she wasn't here. My hands trembled, not from the cold outside, though Minneapolis in December could freeze bone, but from something deeper. Frustration, exhaustion, something unnamed. I was 68, treated like hired help in my own home. And as I stepped into that bitter afternoon, I had no idea this shopping trip would change everything. The roads were slick with fresh snow, the kind that looks peaceful until you try driving on it. I gripped the steering wheel as I headed toward Kowalski's Market on Lake Street. The dashboard read 3:47 p.m. Lance's family would arrive in just over an hour, and here I was, running errands like a hired hand. The market was chaos. Everyone seemed to be searching for forgotten ingredients and last-minute gifts. I grabbed 3 bottles of wine, picked out pies, and hurried through checkout. My chest ached, but at 68 tired was nothing new. By 5:42 p.m., I was back on the road with 2 grocery bags beside me. Darkness had already settled over Minneapolis. I thought of Lorraine, how she would have looked Lance in the eye and reminded him whose house this was. But she was gone. and I'd let exhaustion and loneliness silence me. The light at Lake and Lyndale turned yellow. I slowed. That's when the SUV flew through the red. The black vehicle surged toward me. I tried to swerve, but the impact slammed into my driver's side with an explosion of sound. My head cracked against the wheel. The seatbelt crushed my chest, and groceries scattered as glass shattered. Then silence. For a moment I couldn't move. Blood ran down my forehead. My ribs burned. The SUV's taillights disappeared a hit and run. A woman appeared at my window. "I'm calling 911. Don't move." The paramedics arrived, voices blurring in and out. A young medic pressed gauze to my head. "Possible concussion, bruised ribs. We need to take you in." "I need to go home," I mumbled. "My family?" "Sir, you need a hospital." A police officer approached young Steady Badge, reading Pierce. "Mr. Hamilton, can you tell me what happened?" My phone buzzed. "Lance," I answered. "Lance, where the hell are you?" His voice blasted through the speaker. "I had an accident. A car hit me." "An accident? My family's been here 45 minutes. Where's the wine? The pies? I'm hurt. My head is bleeding." "Oh, cut the crap. You're always acting like some helpless old man. Why aren't you home yet?" The paramedic froze. Officer Pierce's jaw tightened. "Lance, please. I'm at Lake and Lyndale. There's blood." "I don't care. Get back here now, or don't bother coming back. You're ruining my Christmas." He hung up. My phone buzzed again. "Mallory, Dad, where are you?" Lance is furious. "Just come home." Not one word asking if I was alive. I stared at the shattered glass, the crushed pies, the blood on my hands. Something inside me went still. "Sir," the paramedic said softly, "we really should take you to Hennepin Medical." "No," I said. "I'm not going to the hospital, and I'm not going home." "You need medical attention." "I need to see my friend." I turned to Officer Pierce. "Can you document that I refused, that I'm of sound mind?" He studied me, then nodded. "Yes, sir, but call if anything changes." I signed the forms, took his card, and forced the damaged car into motion, but I didn't turn toward 12th Avenue South. Not toward the house where I'd lived for 35 years, where my daughter sent texts about Lance's anger instead of my injuries. I turned toward Linden Hills, toward Vernon's house. For the first time in over a year, I was driving toward freedom. Vernon Blackwell's house sat on a quiet street in Linden Hills, the kind of neighborhood where porch lights still meant someone was welcome. Warm yellow light glowed through the windows, and a Christmas tree twinkled inside. I sat in my car for a moment, trying to gather strength. My head throbbed, my ribs ached, and the bandage on my forehead was already soaking through. I shut off the engine and climbed out. The short walk to the front door felt endless. I raised my hand to knock, then hesitated. It was Christmas night. Vernon and Martha would have plans. The door opened first. "Jesus, Rob, what happened to you?" Vernon stood there in his ugly Christmas sweater, his expression shifting instantly to alarm. I managed I had an accident. "Martha," he shouted, "get the first aid kit." He pulled me inside and guided me to the living room. Martha appeared, took one look at me, and gasped. "Dexter, sit." Vernon, water, and aspirin. I sank into their worn, comfortable couch while Martha peeled back the bloody bandage. "This needs stitches," she murmured. "You should be at the hospital." "I know." Vernon studied me. After 40 years of friendship, he knew when something deeper was wrong. "Rob, what happened? Not just the accident." So I told them. Not every detail, just enough. The hit and run, the paramedics, and the phone call. "He called while I was bleeding on the sidewalk," I said. Vernon's face darkened. "What did he say?" "That I was useless. That I was ruining his Christmas. That I'd better come home or not bother." Martha's hands froze. Vernon's jaw clenched. "And Mallory?" he asked. She texted, asked where I was, said Lance was furious. I looked at my hands, never asked if I was okay. The room fell quiet except for Martha cleaning and rebandaging my wound. "How long has this been happening?" Vernon asked. "A year. They moved in temporarily. Lance found a job 6 months ago, but they never left. And it's been like this the whole time." "No." He was polite at first. Then gradually, I became the cook, the housekeeper, the errand boy. "Example," Vernon asked gently. "Last month I wanted to invite you and Harold over for poker night. Lance said no. Said the house wasn't a senior center. If I wanted friends over, I should go somewhere else." "In your own home," Vernon said flatly. "In my own home," I echoed. He leaned forward. "Rob, you know what this is, right?" I didn't. "Elder abuse. Control isolation, financial exploitation, verbal abuse. It's textbook." The word hit hard. Abuse. I'd never let myself name it. "He's my son-in-law," I whispered. "And he's treating you like a prisoner," Vernon said. This doesn't get better on its own. Martha sat beside me and took my hand. It only gets worse. Vernon stood. Tomorrow we're calling my daughter. Valerie. She's an attorney. Elder law. She can help. You have options, Rob. Real ones. Something inside me cracked open, something I'd kept locked for months. I'm tired, I whispered. I know, Vernon said softly. You're staying here tonight. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. Martha gave me clean clothes and led me to the guest room. Lavender sheets, warm lamplight, quiet. For the first time in over a year, I felt safe. But as I drifted to sleep, one thought lingered. This was only the calm before the storm. Christmas morning. While most families gathered around trees, I sat in Vernon's living room, waking to a truth I'd avoided for over a year. Valerie Blackwell arrived just after 2. She looked like her father, sharp-eyed, direct, dressed in slacks and a crisp blouse despite the holiday. She shook my hand, her gaze landing on my bandaged forehead. Dad told me what happened, she said softly. I'm sorry. She sat across from me with a legal pad, all business, despite the blinking Christmas lights behind her. Let's start with the house, she said. Who owns 3247 12th Avenue South? I do. Bought it in 1989 with my wife Lorraine. After she passed, it transferred to me, sole owner. Is Lance Brennan's name on the deed? Any paperwork? No. Does he pay rent? Any formal agreement? Shame heated my face. No, I pay him. $200 a month. He calls it my contribution to expenses. Valerie stopped writing, looked up. You're paying him to live in your own house. I nodded. Legally, they're guests, she said. Guests can be asked to leave. In Minnesota, I can file an eviction that takes effect in 7 days. That's all. It felt unreal. For non-paying occupants with no lease, yes. I'd recommend making it effective January 1st. Clean start. Would police be needed? I'll arrange for an officer to accompany us when we serve the notice. I tried to picture it entering my house with a lawyer and a cop telling Lance and Mallory they had to leave. Has Mallory contacted you? Valerie asked gently. Asked how you're doing? I checked my phone. Only last night's message, Dad. Where are you? Lance is furious. Just come home. No concern, no questions. Nothing since. No, I said quietly. Valerie leaned forward. Love isn't about blood. It's about who shows up. The words settled heavily. I want them out, I said. But I don't want Mallory to think I'm abandoning her. I want her to understand. You'll have that chance, Valerie assured me. I'll prepare everything. January 1st, 9 a.m. Vernon squeezed my shoulder. You're doing the right thing. Was I? I wasn't sure. I only knew I couldn't go back to being invisible in my own home. Thank you, I told Valerie, for coming on Christmas. That's what family does, she said. Real family. After she left, I watched her car disappear down the street as the winter light faded. Vernon joined me. You okay? He asked. I don't know, I admitted. I keep thinking about Mallory, about losing her. You're giving her a chance to see clearly, he said. You're not losing her. Maybe. Or maybe I was. Back in the guest room, lying on a bed that wasn't mine in a house that wasn't mine, something unfamiliar rose in my chest. Hope fragile, tentative. And beneath it a deep sadness for the daughter I feared I might already have lost. 3 days. That's how long it took for Mallory to call, not to ask if I was okay, but to ask when I was coming home. I was sitting at Vernon's kitchen table when my phone buzzed on the afternoon of the 27th. Her name on the screen stirred something complicated hope tangled with dread. I answered, Mal. Dad, where are you? It's been 3 days. I'm staying with Vernon. Why, what's going on? Lance said you just disappeared after ruining Christmas dinner. Ruining. As if I'd chosen to get hit by a car. Mal, I didn't ruin anything. I was in an accident. Someone hit me. What a pause. Are you okay? Now you ask, I said softly. That's not fair. We didn't know. I tried to tell Lance, I said, keeping my voice calm. I was sitting on the sidewalk, bleeding. I told him I'd been hit. He said I was being dramatic. Silence. Then Lance said you were exaggerating, that you wanted attention. I had a concussion, Mal. Bruised ribs. A paramedic wanted me at the hospital. I didn't know. Because neither of you asked. A longer pause. Then her tone shifted harder. Okay, well, you're fine now, right? So when are you coming home? Lance's family left yesterday, and it's awkward with you gone. Awkward. Not worried, not concerned. Or do you just miss the cook and the housekeeper, I asked. Dad, that's mean. We're family. We take care of each other. Do we? When's the last time Lance helped with anything? When's the last time you asked how I'm doing? Her breath caught. Why are you being like this? Lance said you've been acting strange. Maybe you should see a doctor, Dad, for your memory. You're not remembering things right. There it was, gaslighting, perfectly delivered. My memory's fine, I said gently. I remember every insult, every demand, Every time I was treated like help instead of family. That's not true, she cried. We've given up so much to take care of you. Mel, it's my house. Silence, deep and total. What she whispered. The house is mine. I bought it with your mother. You and Lance are guests. Her breathing turned shallow as it sank in. I have to go. Lance needs me. Mallory, I have to go, Dad. She hung up. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear. Vernon stepped into the doorway. She hung up, I said. She's been gaslighted, Rob, he replied. He's convinced her you're the problem. She told me to see a doctor. For my memory. I let out a broken laugh. She thinks I'm losing it. She believes what he's made. Her believe, Vernon said gently. But when she sees the truth, she'll come back. Will she? I wasn't sure. I walked to the window. Outside, snow covered everything pure deceptive, hiding all the mess beneath. I've lost her, I said quietly. Maybe a long time ago. You haven't lost her forever, Vernon said. Sometimes people need distance to see clearly. Maybe. I wanted to believe that my little girl was still in there somewhere. But as darkness settled over Vernon Street, one thought echoed. In 4 days, Mallory would have to face everything. The documents, the eviction notice, the truth about her husband. And I didn't know if that would save her or lose her for good. All I knew was that she would see it, every bit of it. On the morning of December 28th, I walked into Valerie Blackwell's law office on Hennepin Avenue, with Vernon by my side. The building smelled like fresh coffee and copy paper, the scent of order of rules that could protect people like me. Everything's ready, Valerie said, sliding a manila folder across her desk. Inside my house deed, showing sole ownership, the police report from Christmas Eve bank statements, proving I'd been paying Lance $200 a month while he paid nothing, and a formal 7-day eviction notice effective January 1st. Officer Pierce will meet you at 9 a.m. on New Year's Day, she explained. He'll be there to keep things civil. You hand Lance the notice, explain calmly, and he has 24 hours to vacate. I signed every page. My hand didn't shake. That evening back at Vernon's house, I sat at the kitchen table with a blank sheet of paper and a pen. Writing to Mallory was harder than signing legal documents. Dear Mallory, I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this because I finally understand that love isn't supposed to make you invisible. Your mother taught me that. I hope one day you'll remember it too. I'll always be your father. Dad. Vernon read it, nodded. Short, honest. Good. On December 30th, Valerie came over to rehearse. She played Lance, arms crossed, voice sharp. You can't kick me out of my own house. It's my house, Lance. I practiced. Always has been. Here's the deed. Here's the eviction notice. Over and over until my voice stayed steady. New Year's Eve arrived. I didn't watch the countdown on TV. I sat alone in the guest room, staring at a photo of Lorraine I kept in my wallet. Tomorrow, I thought. Tomorrow, I stand up. I barely slept. At 8 a.m. on January 1st, 2025, I put on my gray suit, the one I'd worn to Lorraine's funeral. Vernon clapped my shoulder. You ready, brother? I'm ready. At 8:50 a.m., Valerie pulled up in her sedan. Officer Pierce was already waiting in his patrol car. I climbed into Valerie's passenger seat, the folder on my lap. We drove south down 12th Avenue. The morning was cold and bright. Christmas lights still hung on porches. Families were probably nursing hangovers, making resolutions. I was about to make mine come true. At exactly 9:00 a.m., Valerie's car stopped in front of 3247 12th Avenue South, my home. Officer Pierce parked behind us. I looked at the front door, the same door I'd walked out of 6 days ago, bleeding and invisible. Not anymore. I opened the car door. It was time. January 1st, 9:00 a.m., I stood on my own porch, about to knock on the door of the house I'd bought 30 years ago with Lorraine. The irony wasn't lost on me. I raised my fist and knocked 3 times. Footsteps, a hesitation, then the door opened. Mallory stood there in an old sweatshirt, eyes swollen from sleep or crying. When she saw me, her expression shifted surprise, confusion, and something almost like relief. Then she noticed Valerie and Officer Pierce standing behind me on the walkway, and her face tightened again. Dad, what's going on? I need to come in, I said softly. We all need to talk. She hesitated but stepped aside. I walked into my own home for the first time in a week. The living room was a mess. Empty beer bottles, pizza boxes, clothes draped over chairs. The Christmas tree Lorraine and I had bought 15 years ago was still up, but ornaments were missing. The whole room smelled of stale alcohol and old food. This was 6 days without me. Mallory followed my eyes. We had people over. For New Year's. I said nothing. My gaze had landed on the mantel. Lorraine's photo, the one that had sat there since her funeral was gone. In its place was a framed picture of Lance's parents. Something inside me split. "Who the hell is here?" Lance's voice thundered from upstairs. Heavy footsteps followed. He appeared at the top of the staircase in a Vikings jersey, surveying us with smug irritation. When he saw me, his expression twisted into a sneer. He came down slowly, deliberate, enjoying the moment. "Well, well," the old man finally came crawling back. He reached the bottom, step arms crossed. "Took you long enough. Did you at least bring the groceries this time, or did you forget those too?" Mallory flushed. "Lance?" what he said, glancing at her before turning toward the entryway. His smirk faltered when he noticed Valerie and Officer Pierce just inside. And guests. For the first time in a year, I held his stare. "Sit down, Lance." He barked a laugh. "Excuse me." "Sit down." My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Mallory's eyes flicked to me in shock. Lance stared at me, then shrugged theatrically and swaggered into the living room, dropping onto my couch like he owned the place. He sprawled with one arm over the backrest. "All right, Dexter. Let's hear it," he said mockingly. "What's this about?" Mallory hovered near the door, unsure. Valerie stepped forward, folder in hand. Officer Pierce remained by the entrance, calm and observant. I moved to the center of the living room, the same room where Lorraine and I had celebrated 30 Christmases, where Mallory had opened presents as a child, where I'd slowly become invisible. I looked at Lance, then at my daughter. "Lance," I said quietly, "I need to tell you about Christmas Eve." His smirk returned. "When you bailed on dinner." "When I was hit by a car." The smirk froze. "When I called for help," I continued, "and you told me I was being dramatic. When I was bleeding on the sidewalk and you said I was ruining your holiday. When you ordered me to come home instead of asking if I was alive." Mallory's breath caught. Lance shifted but said nothing. Valerie opened her folder. "And today I said we address what happens next." I didn't tremble. I didn't falter. For the first time in a long time, this was my house again, and my voice finally carried weight. "You hung up on me while I was bleeding." I let the words settle. Lance's smirk didn't move, but Mallory's head snapped toward me. "On Christmas Eve," I continued, "I was driving to Kowalski's Market. You'd given me a list, Lance Wine Desserts wrapping paper, $500 worth. Your family was coming at 5, and everything had to be perfect." Lance rolled his eyes. "Yeah, and you disappeared." "I got hit by a car," Mallory gasped. "An SUV ran a red light at Lake and Lyndale, slammed into my driver's side. I hit my head. There was blood everywhere. A paramedic wanted to take me to the hospital, but I said no, I knew you were waiting. So I sat on that frozen sidewalk with a gash in my forehead, and I called you." Lance's smirk faded. "And do you remember what you said?" He didn't answer. I turned to Mallory. Her eyes were already filling with tears. He said, "Why aren't you home yet, you useless old fool? My family needs you to serve dinner now." My voice stayed steady. I told him I'd been in an accident, that I was hurt, and he said I was being dramatic. Then he hung up. "Dad?" Mallory whispered. I sat there bleeding Mal, and I realized something. It wasn't the first time he'd talked to me like that, just the first time I was too hurt to pretend it was fine. Lance shifted. "Look, I didn't know you were actual." "You didn't care," I said quietly. Silence filled the room. I faced Mallory. "Sweetheart, I need you to hear this, not to hurt you, but because it's the truth. For the past year, since you and Lance moved in, I haven't been your father. I've been your housekeeper." "That's not," Lance snapped. "I cook 3 meals a day," I said. "I do your laundry. I clean after your family visits. I'm not allowed to eat dinner with you." Lance says I hover. I pay him $200 a month to live in my own home because he said it was rent for taking up space. Mallory staggered back. "What?" "I gave up poker night because Lance said it was inconsiderate. I stopped going to church because he needed the car. I've apologized for things I never did, stayed quiet to avoid conflict, made myself small in my own house." My voice trembled, but I kept going. "And on Christmas Eve, sitting on that sidewalk, I understood. This isn't love. It isn't family. It's abuse." "Abuse," Lance stood face red. "You're being ridiculed." "Elder abuse," Valerie said, stepping forward. Her tone was calm, legal, absolute. She opened the folder in her hands. Isolation, control, financial exploitation, verbal degradation, all directed at a senior. That's the definition. Lance's eyes darted between her and Officer Pierce. Mallory stared at me, tears falling. "Dad!" I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. "I know," I said gently, "but it happened." "This is insane," Lance snapped. "Mal, tell him." Mr. Brennan Valerie cut in sharply. She held up the folder. This house belongs solely to Dexter Hamilton. You pay no rent and have no legal rights to this property. And as of today, January 1st, 2025, she met Lance's eyes. He's evicting you. The word hung in the air like a bomb. Evicting. Lance stared at Valerie, then at me, his expression cycling through disbelief, rage, and flickering panic. You can't do this, he said, voice rising. This is our house, Mal, tell him. It's not, Valerie said, pulling 3 documents from her folder and placing them on the coffee table, nudging aside an empty beer bottle. This is the deed. Dexter Hamilton's sole owner. This is a year of bank statements showing Mr. Hamilton paying you $200 while you paid 0 rent. And this, she set down the last page, is Officer Pierce's report, documenting the December 24th accident and injuries. Lance's mouth open-closed. He looked at Mallory. Babe, this is insane. He's trying to tear us apart. Stop. Mallory's voice was quiet but sharp. She stared at the papers, tears shining. Just stop. Lance. Mao. Were you really charging my father rent? Her voice trembled. In his own house. Lance stiffened. He was using space. It was fair. Fair, Mallory whispered, horrified. She turned to me. Dad, why didn't you tell me? I tried, I said softly. But every time I said something, Lance told you I was confused or difficult. And you believed him. She flinched. Lance abruptly stood. Fine. You want your house back? Take it. But Mallory's coming with me. He held out a hand. Right, babe. Let's go. Mallory looked at him, then at me, then back. No, she whispered. Lance froze. What? I'm staying. With my dad. You've got to be kidding me. He was bleeding, Lance Mallory cried. Hurt and alone on Christmas Eve, and you called him useless. You hung up on him. And her voice broke. I didn't even ask if he was okay. I just believed you. Lance's face twisted. So that's it? You're choosing him? I'm choosing not to abandon my father, she said, wiping her eyes. For a moment I thought Lance might lunge at her. But Officer Pierce shifted slightly, and Lance stopped himself. Fine, Lance spat. Enjoy your little reunion. I'm out. You have 24 hours to remove your belongings, Valerie said calmly. If you're not out by 9 a.m. tomorrow, Officer Pierce will enforce the eviction. I don't need 24 hours, Lance snapped, storming upstairs. We listened to drawers, slam bags being packed. 15 minutes later, he came down with 2 duffels eyes hard. He avoided us both. At the door, he paused. You'll regret this, Mallory. Both of you. Then he left. Officer Pierce closed the door. Valerie squeezed my shoulder. I'll check in tomorrow, she said. Then she and the officer left. The house felt impossibly quiet. Mallory stood in the living room, arms wrapped around herself, looking lost. I reached into my coat and pulled out the letter I'd written 3 days earlier. I want you to read this, I said gently. When you're ready. She took it with trembling hands. Your old room is still yours, sweetheart, I said. It always was. She nodded and went upstairs. That night I lay in my own bed for the first time in a week. Down the hall I heard Mallory crying softly, not the sound of someone breaking, but of someone finally letting go. For the first time in a year we both slept in peace. The first few weeks were hard. Mallory cried often, not for Lance, but for the years she'd lost, and the father she'd stopped seeing. She read my letter again and again, and each time she found me and hugged me without speaking. We didn't talk much at first. We didn't need to. We simply lived in the same space again. I made her breakfast. She helped me clear out the room Lance had taken over. Slowly the house began to feel like a home again. By February, Mallory started seeing a therapist. By March, she filed for divorce. Lance didn't contest it. He knew. As for me, I began telling my story. It started with Vernon. One night he asked if I'd speak at the Powderhorn Senior Center. People need to hear this, Dex, he said. A lot of folks don't know it has a name. So I spoke. In a community room that smelled of burnt coffee, I told 30 seniors about the phone call, the accident, and the year I spent invisible in my own home. When I finished, a woman raised her hand. My son-in-law does the same thing, she whispered. 3 others nodded. That's when I realized this wasn't just my story. Over the next months, I spoke at more centers. I worked with Valerie's law firm to create a guide, Signs of Elder Abuse and What You Can Do. We handed out hundreds of copies. I met men and women who thought they were the problem. I told them what Valerie told me. You're not difficult. You're being mistreated. Some found the courage to stand up. 6 months after that New Year's morning, on a warm July evening, I sat on my porch with a glass of lemonade watching the sun sink over 12th Avenue. Mallory pulled into the driveway. She'd spent the day at a teacher training workshop. She'd returned to work in May, her old spark returning. She sat beside me. "Dad," she said quietly, "I got a letter today from Lance's lawyer. The divorce is final. How do you feel?" She thought for a moment, then smiled. "Free." I squeezed her hand. "Valerie called too," I said. "Another senior center wants me next month." Mallory looked at me with bright eyes. "You're really helping people." "I hope so," I said. "If my story helps even one person realize they don't have to live like that, it's worth it." She rested her head on my shoulder like she used to when she was little. "I'm proud of you, Dad." "I'm proud of you too, Mel." We sat together as the sky turned pink, then purple. Lights flicked on across the neighborhood. Somewhere down the street, a family laughed. I thought about Lorraine, how she always said I was stronger than I believed. I thought about that frozen sidewalk on Christmas Eve, about the moment I chose not to go home. And I realized that wasn't when I got my life back. This was, if you see yourself in my story, hear me. You deserve safety. You deserve respect. And it's never too late to take your life back. I'm Dexter Hamilton. I'm 68 years old. And I'm finally free. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs earlier. But abuse creeps in slowly, a comment here, a demand there, until you're invisible in your own home. Don't be like me. Don't wait for a crisis to wake you up. If something feels wrong, trust that feeling. You're not imagining it. Here's what I learned. God doesn't want us to live invisible. He gave us voices for a reason. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help. This true story, my true story, isn't just another one of those grandpa stories you forget. It's a warning. It's permission. It's proof that standing up is possible even at 68. Speak up before you have to stand up. Recognize the red flags. Find your Vernon, your Valerie, your Officer Pierce. They're out there. Your life is worth fighting for, always. If this true story touched you, or you know someone going through something similar, please comment below. Share this video. Subscribe to the channel. These grandpa stories matter. Your voice might be what someone needs to hear today. Let's keep the conversation